Hello, good morning. Our first issue is cabinet committees. Recently, Prime Minister has reconstituted the cabinet committees. In this context, we have to understand what is the meaning of cabinet committee and purpose of cabinet committee. Cabinet is a subpart of Council of Ministers. This cabinet consists of all the important ministers. Cabinet committees are again specialized bodies within the cabinet. These cabinet committees are appointed for a specific purpose. For example, Cabinet Committee on Security, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, like that. These committees they reduce the burden on the cabinet by enabling the collective decisions to be taken by small group of ministers. Composition, members of these cabinet committees, these are decided by the Prime Minister. We have to remember that these cabinet committees are not constitutional bodies, they are not mentioned in the constitution, but they are constituted to fasten the decision making and to make efficient decisions in a smaller group. Next issue is reinfection in the first COVID patient. India's first COVID patient tests positive again now after a gap of 1.5 years. She was studying in Wuhan Medical University. When she came back to Kerala for vacation to her hometown, she got infected with the COVID virus. None of her family members got infected till now. Now again she got infected, which is called as reinfection. She has asymptomatic qualities. She is not yet been vaccinated. In this context, what we have to understand is reinfection is possible. In this context, we have to understand the nature of this particular virus because reinfection, re-emergence of virus, these can cause problems. So better vaccination, studying the characteristic of this virus and causing the reinfection rates, these have to be studied. Next issue is cancellation of Kanvariatra. Uttarakhand has cancelled Kanbaryatra because there's Delta plus variant of COVID-19 and there's possibility of third wave. Recently, Indian Medical Association also has said that allowing Kanbaryatra might lead to third wave in India. In this context, Uttarakhand state government has cancelled it. By the way, what is Kanbaryatra? This is an annual pilgrimage of devotees of Shiva known as Kanvarya. Here, from many places, from many rivers, people carry the water and pour the water on Shivalinga. This is commemorated, this is an acknowledgement of Samudra Manthan. Samudra Manthan, that is churning of ocean or churning of sea, which is mentioned in the Hindu mythology. This particular event, which is an annual event, has been suspended for this year. Next issue is flash floods in Himachal Pradesh. Flash floods in Himachal Pradesh and landslides in Uttarakhand. These events they have caused huge loss to the life, damage to the infrastructure and property. In this context, cloudbursts led to the flash floods in Himachal Pradesh and which in turn led to landslides. Global warming and climate change are said to be primary reason for this. Yes, this is a rainy season, monsoons. This has caused heavy rainfall. That's the primary reason. But intensity is increasing because of global warming and climate change. In this context, focusing more on disaster mitigation and disaster preparedness is the key. Next issue is Assam Cattle Preservation Bill 2021. Assam is going to introduce it in its legislature. Major objective mentioned behind this particular bill is to check the illegal smuggling of cows to Bangladesh. And it also seeks to restrict the sale of beef in areas dominated by non-beef consuming communities. So one within 5 kilometers radius of temples, satras. Satras means Shankara has established Vaishnava monasteries. These are called satras. Around these satras, 5 kilometer radius, no beef sale can be allowed. This bill also restricts the supply of beef and transport of cattle to the Christian majority states in Northeast. That's why recently Meghalaya has criticized this move and complained to central government saying that this will restrict the economic activity in our state. As this is related to interstate trade, you have to take the decision. So that's how Meghalaya has requested the central government. Next issue is Nepal's political crisis. What has happened? Nepal was under political crisis in 2018 and 2015. And many times they have formulated their constitution after 2015. In 2018, elections were conducted. The coalition party came to power. They agreed that 2.5 years, one person would be the prime minister. Remaining 2.5 years, another person from the coalition. But then KP Oli, the ex-prime minister of Nepal, he didn't agree for power sharing, power transition. After 2.5 years, he didn't agree to share the power with other person. That has led to coalition, falling out of the coalition. And then this failure in power sharing has led to KP Oli seeking for dissolution of House of Representatives. In spite of others saying that we will form the government, but he has requested the President of Nepal to dissolve the House of Representatives in November 2020. They went to Supreme Court, opposition parties went to Supreme Court has restored. Trust vote has conducted in the parliament, and then the government lost the trust. Then again, when the government lost the trust, opposition parties and other parties, they have to be given the chance. If they can form the government, they will. Otherwise, elections would be conducted. But then, what that time Prime Minister did, he again sought for dissolution of House of Representatives and sought for elections. Again, opposition parties went to Supreme Court. They sought for review of this decision. Supreme Court has reviewed it and they said that House of Representatives should be restored. Sher Bahadur Debua, he should be made as Prime Minister because he has the support from a large number of legislators. Now again, this person is going to face the trust vote because in a parliamentary system, trust of majority members is required. So if he passes in the trust vote, he will continue as the Prime Minister and his party will lead the government. If not, fresh elections would be conducted. This political crisis in Nepal is a cause of concern for India because instability in our neighboring country can lead to strategic concerns because of China, and this political crisis can be used as an opportunity to go against India. That's one of the concerns. Next issue is high fuel prices and economic recovery. Recently, SBI report has said that high fuel prices, they put the burden on the consumers. As inflation increases, it reduces the savings, it reduces the demand for the goods and services. Overall, it reduces the economic growth. So, cut down on the fuel prices might lead to recovery, economic recovery. So, government should act in this direction. That's the recommendation of that report. Next, let us understand the editorials. First one is unproductive idea. That is, recently UP has proposed population policy. UP has also proposed draft Uttar Pradesh population control stabilization bill. This bill tried to provide the incentive and disincentive. That means if the couple has less than 2 children, they will be given incentives. If the couple has more than 2 children, they will be disincentivized. That means subsidies won't be provided. They are not allowed to participate. They are not allowed to apply for government exams. Likewise, disincentives are mentioned in this bill. With regard to population control strategy, we have Cairo Consensus. This was adopted under Cairo International Conference on Population and Development in 1994. This consensus says that promotion of reproductive rights of the women, empowering women, universal education, maternal and infant health, these things, they will reduce the poverty and high fertility rates. It's not incentive and disincentive. Even National Human Rights Commission has denounced the population control measures through these measures like incentive disincentive measures. In this context, we have to understand this particular fact. Yes, the UP government said as they have 2.7 percentage of total fertility rate, which is second to Bihar, they have to control the population. True. This reduces the poverty. True. But then through what means is the question. So population needs to be seen as an socio-economic issue, not as a population control issue as mentioned under Neo-Malthusian way. Malthusian theory says that population grows and then food supplies, they might not grow in proportion to the population, so population control should be there. Otherwise, countries would face the problem. That's Malthusian theory. That should not be the method now. It should be considered from the socio-economic perspective as per the Cairo consensus. Next issue is upcoming crisis in Indian federalism. Very important article. This is very important for our mains. Please go through it in detail. Now, what is the crisis in Indian federalism? In the next 5 years, parliamentary constituencies need to be delimited. The review of parliamentary constituencies would be there as per the agreement in 2026. This will start. We have freezed the parliamentary constituencies in 1976 as per the 1971 census, that is population. Now the problem is going to be, the challenge is going to be between federalism and democracy. In democracy, every individual has equal right. In federalism, smaller states are there, larger states are there. If every individual is given equal right, then democracy is good, true. But larger states will have more political voice as compared to smaller states. That will affect the federalism. On the one side, we have to protect the democracy. On the other side, we have to protect the federalism. Article 1 says India is union of states. It shows the federalistic tendency. On the other side, state reorganization showed that center has more powers and states can be reorganized as and when necessary. In this context, there are concerns from the smaller states. There are states, especially western and southern states, which have controlled the population. Now the issue is northern states and eastern states, their population control is not up to the mark. The population is growing. They will have more political voice when the delimitation happens on population basis. In this context, how should the government balance it? There are 4 methods that are suggested in this article. 1 is to rebalance the power between center and states. Under Schedule 7, the subjects are divided into 3 lists. States have less powers, rebalance the powers so that smaller states won't have concern. The second one is role and composition of Rajya Sabha must be addressed. Rajya Sabha is considered as Council of States. As of now, Rajya Sabha membership is also based on the population. But in USA, etc., they have equal representation from all the states to their upper house. Why can't we follow that? That's one more suggestion. Then consent of states in constitutional change and financial distribution. See, in financial distribution, as bigger states have more representation, smaller states fear on that. So what if they have consensus, then breaking the bigger states into smaller ones? For example, if you observe UP, it's a bigger state. So why can't we break it? Already there are demands. This will also allow for a good governance. So these things needs to be considered and there needs balance between democracy and federalism. Next issue is growth matters. Yes, growth slowdown has happened. Recently, NSO has released national account statistics. There's a gap between labor force participation and employment rate. That means unemployment is increasing. Slowdown in IIP, Index of Industrial Production, Purchasers Manufacturers Index. This shows that secondary sector is slowing down. In this context, job losses are increasing. So sharp revival in demand is necessary. Government has taken fiscal stimulus measures, but revival of demand must be focused in the fiscal stimulus. Next issue is upholding trust in vaccines. Rapid vaccination is the target now. In this context, target-based vaccination is there, but that should convert into trust-based vaccination. People's trust is necessary. In this context, addressing the vaccine hesitancy is the way forward. Final issue is disabling the unconstitutional sections in various acts. We have Section 66A of IT Act. This has been declared as unconstitutional in Shreya single case in 2015. But then these sections are still being in use. That's why in PUCL versus Union of India case, they went to Supreme Court and Supreme Court said government should take the appropriate measures to empower the police and others to disable the unconstitutional sections. What can we do? 1. Educate the police officer, train the police officers on such provisions. Second one, mention these unconstitutional provisions in brackets so that they will understand that, these are struck down, so we should not use them. Third one is, whenever police file FIR in CCTNS, crime and criminal tracking network systems, these sections must be disabled. So even if they want to register a case by mistake or unknowingly, when these sections are disabled in the software, they will automatically understand these things must be done. These are the topics for today. Thank you very much. All the very best.